Let's take a hard look at our pantries and ask ourselves, are we really prepared if we couldn't get to the store? Could we still make balanced meals with what we have? Today, I'm sharing the essential pantry items that are shelf-stable, versatile, and perfect for creating balanced meals in a pinch. But here's the thing, it's not just about filling our pantries with stuff. It's about being intentional with what we store. My pantry has been my lifesaver. If I can do this, you can definitely do this. This is the pantry guide you need. Aprons on, let's go. These items are gonna be our pantry heroes, okay? Here's what I recommend. First up is proteins, and it's where we can sometimes get stuck, especially when money is tight. You should have in your home things like canned beef, pork, ham, turkey, and canned tuna. But if you're gonna buy canned fish, have it packed in water instead of oil. We love tuna fish sandwiches. We have a tuna pot pie recipe. It's one of our favorite meals. We love tuna fish. Canned chicken is really good to have on hand and are perfect for adding into casseroles, salads, soups, chicken enchiladas, and pasta dishes. Your canned chicken can last up to 5 years in your pantry. Another reason why you should have it on your shelf. The protein that keeps on giving. Spam. You can add it to mac and cheese or pizza, throw it on a breakfast sandwich. You could stir it into fried rice. I actually grew up on Spam. I didn't mind it as a kid. If my dad whipped out the Spam, I knew we could be in a rough spot right now, or we're at the end of the month and we have no more fresh cold cuts. Yeah, I have fond memories of Spam sandwiches. Aw, Dad. But my goodness, this is a good thing to have on your shelf. It lasts a long time. Is it healthy? Why no. When crap hits the fan, are you really gonna care? You're just gonna wanna feed your belly and you're gonna wanna feed your family. Beans and lentils. One of our favorite lentils is split peas. We love keeping the ham hock of our ham. We love to make split pea soup. It's one of my kids' favorites. And so we always have bags of split peas on hand. There are a ton of different types of beans. Whether canned or dry, they are another powerhouse. And they can be easily turned into soups, chilies, salad, nachos, dips, or even added to tacos. If you have canned chickpeas, you can make hummus, and they could stretch your meats in certain dishes too. I have a lot of canned beans on hand. They're so convenient, especially when we don't want to soak your beans and work them in your slow cooker or in your Instant Pot. You'll save a ton more money when you buy them dry, and usually in bulk. You can easily store dried beans in a 1 gallon or 5 gallon bucket with a tight fitting lid. Have peanut butter, nuts, and seeds, protein bars. This is a quick zero prep meal that I think you should have in your cars, in your to-go bag. These are great in any emergency. They're calorie dense, a good energy source, and they have a long shelf life. Protein is just one area of our pantry. You'll need some good hearty greens. This is your rice, oats, and pastas. They're affordable, they last forever. We store a lot of pasta. The shelf life is very long. You can use pasta as a side dish, as the main dish. Add your protein to it. I have shells, manicotti, and lasagna. Gluten-free pasta. We have bow ties, ditalini in here, egg noodles in here as well, shell pasta, penne, elbow macaroni, like rigatoni. And then we have spaghettis in here, and I have boxes of gluten-free spaghetti as well. For me, I love to store orzo. It's a little pasta that looks like rice. They're great to add to salads, pilafs, and you can add them to soups and stews. Everyone should have a basic chicken soup recipe, right? Most people like to use some sort of pasta or egg noodle for their chicken soup. For me, I like having it with orzo. Will you let me know in the comments what you like to have for your chicken soup or type of pasta? You gotta have rice in your pantry. It is a great, cheap resource on a budget. And it's perfect as a filler in any dish. You could grind it up and use it as a flour. Rice can last past 30 years if you seal it up right. We like to put ours in Mylar bags with an oxygen absorber inside a food grade bucket. We love stocking up on jasmine and basmati. I know there's a great debate on oats if they're healthy or they're not healthy, but I think they're great to have on hand. You can grind your oats and use that as a flour for baking as well. I have rolled oats in my long-term food storage, but here in my everyday pantry, I have quick oats, regular oats, and steel cut oats. Let's go over some of our baked goods, like flour, sugar, baking powder. You can whip up things like homemade bread, pancakes, muffins, buns, or even simple baked treats. Having the box items are great. I love them. But when we have all these basics on hand and you make your brownies or your cake mix, It's so much cheaper. It's pennies compared to buying the box mixes. Have different sugar options in your pantry. White sugar, brown sugar, powdered sugar. If you keep molasses on hand and you mix that with your sugar, you have brown sugar. Take your regular sugar, grind it up, you have powdered sugar. So if you're ever in a tight bind, there you go. Have your flours. I have kamut flour, bread flour, all-purpose flour. But in my long-term food storage, I have buckets of the wheat berries, the hard white wheat, the hard red wheat. That way when I need some flours, I just take out my mill and just grind that up really fast, and I have my fresh flours. Flour actually has about an 8-month shelf life if it's left in the bags. I have gone up to a year and it was just fine. You can extend the life by putting your flour into Mylar bags with an oxygen absorber. You can go 20 years with that flour. One way that I've been recently storing my flour for long term and even short term, just to keep it fresh, is using my food saver. You can use any vacuum sealed machine, and I've been storing them in these little bricks. They look a little sus, but trust me, this method works. So I take a brown paper bag and I'll write the amount and the weight of how much I'm putting in. I made bags with 4 cups, 6 cups, and even 10 cups. A lot of my bread recipes calls for around 10 cups of flour. You put them in a brown paper bag because if you were to put flour just in the normal vacuum sealed bag and you use the machine to pull the air out, you're going to put so much powder into your machine, it's going to clog and break. This is a great way to lend out flour when someone comes knocking at your door asking for a few cups. We keep these bricks of flour in a Rubbermaid bin in our storage room. And for your baking goods, have yeast. I know a lot of people are sourdough people. I'm a yeast girl. So I freeze big blocks of yeast, and then when I use it, I open it up, I'll put it in a container or bag. I don't set any out to make breads or anything like that to thaw out. I just throw it in my mixer and it comes out great. Everything rises. You want to have the things on hand to make homemade bread. You will save so much money when you start making your own bread. But think about this. When you run to the store, are you just picking up bread and coming home? No, because we could easily go in for bread, but instead come home with like $100 of like crap. We do it all the time. It's so easy, right? When we learn how to make bread, that is gonna trickle into other things like bagels and English muffins, flour tortillas, buns like hot dog buns and hamburger buns, pizza dough, rolls, and bread bowls. I learned how to make bread bowls. I mean, basically it's just one big roll, but I was intimidated by it. And once I tried it, I'm like, why haven't I been doing this forever? Seriously, it opens up a whole new world. If you don't have a bread maker or even bread pans, you can still make homemade bread. You can use a baking sheet. You can use a slow cooker. Super easy, so good. But if you want to save a buck and don't want to make homemade bread, then go get the cheaper cuts of bread. They're going to be on the bottom shelf of your supermarket. They're never at eye level. Now that we have our proteins and grains covered, let's talk about getting some more nutrients into those meals. That's where canned veggies and fruit come in. You can find so many veggies these days in can form. Green beans, spinach, carrots, peas, corn, potatoes, sliced beets, squash, tomatoes. I like to store diced, petite diced, crushed, whole, sauce, and paste. They are so handy to have on your shelf. There are so many of my go-to recipes that require a canned tomato in some form. If you're trying to make things stretch and you're going to use one of your canned tomatoes and you don't need the liquid that it's in, use the leftover canned tomato juice to thin out soups and sauces or add it to rice. I love keeping canned chilies on hand. They're really cheap. They give any meal you're making a boost. As for fruits, canned peaches, pineapple, and applesauce are great to have on hand. They make a quick dessert and add a little sweetness to breakfast. And here's a little tip. Applesauce can actually be a great substitute for oil in a lot of your baking. Canned fruit is so good if you're trying to kick a craving for something sweet. We need to make all of these ingredients come together into delicious meals. So we need a few key cooking essentials like oils, vinegars, and broths. Oils like olive oil, canola oil, sometimes avocado oil, and keep them in a dark, cool place. But don't like bulk buy the oils. I've learned this the hard way. They have somewhat of a shelf life, but not very long. So I always have one that we're using now and at least 1 or 2 bags backup, but it's usually one good backup. With oil and vinegar on hand, you can make everything from salad dressings to stir fries. Vinegars like white vinegar, rice wine vinegar, red wine vinegar, and apple cider and balsamic. It's self-preserving and doesn't need refrigerating. Honey can last forever. I swear, a meteor can come down, strike the earth, and they'll still find honey. It's one of those foods that never expire. Go into your pantry right now and let me know, do you have any honey that's crystallized? Take the top off, warm it up in a pot of water or in your microwave. It will melt down and you'll get nice, smooth honey. So don't throw it away. That's gold you have there in your pantry. I also always keep shelf-stable broths on hand. They're perfect for making soups, adding flavor to rice, and even gravies.
Chicken stock, chicken broth, beef broth, but the best way to really save on a budget is to use bouillon. That stores really well. One jar of bouillon will stretch you for many recipes, but I always keep chicken broth on hand.
The better than bouillons are great, but once you open it, it has to be refrigerated, and it really doesn't have that much of a shelf life in your refrigerator. Having the quick cans of broth, they're just easier to use for your recipes. Now, while we're talking about pantry essentials, I do want to mention something important. It's easy to reach for those pre-packaged box items when we're trying to save time. Sure, they seem convenient, but they're often packed with added sugars, preservatives, and artificial ingredients, which they're all delicious, but we don't know what's in them, right? I mean, I try to keep a few on hand, but once we know a few combinations, we can rely on our pantry. You know those Knorr rice sides? Yeah, you can make your own. You can make your own like pilafs instead of buying rice-a-roni. You can make those all at home, homemade, cheaper, and a whole lot healthier. If you have your flours and your sugars, you can make your own biscuits, your own pancake mixes. For example, instant oatmeal. These are great and convenient, but it's super easy to make your own. You're gonna need 10 cups of quick cooking oats. 4 of those cups you're gonna grind up until it becomes a powder. This helps the oatmeal become a little thicker and creamy. 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 1 cup of non-dairy creamer or dried milk, 1 cup of brown sugar. I'm using snack-sized plastic baggies. You can also use mason jars. I scooped 1/2 cup of the oatmeal mixture into the snack-sized baggies. You can add nuts, peanut butter powder, sweetened shredded coconut, cinnamon. I'm using freeze-dried fruit. There are so many combinations that you can make. Add 6 ounces of water. If you're going to microwave on high for 1 to 2 minutes until hot. Let it cool for about a minute or so, and as it's cooling, it'll thicken up. As for baking, keep basic ingredients like we talked about, the flour, the sugar, the baking powder, and baking soda, and even cocoa on hand. With these, we can whip up muffins or a cake whenever you need to. So next time you're shopping, skip those box items and grab the basics. So what if we can't get some fresher ingredients like milk, eggs, or even butter? Well, we want to have versions of these that are shelf stable for these moments. If I can't get my hands on potatoes, we can use the powdered potatoes. They're great. Add some butter, salt, milk, cream cheese, garlic to it. Yum, those work really good. That's a great backup to have. Milk, powdered milk, and cheeses that don't require refrigeration. These are also useful because they give you the option to add creaminess to soups or bake without needing to run out to the store. We like to use canned evaporated milk. I have at least a case of 12 for the year. We like to use this in homemade mac and cheese, pumpkin pie, and a few other go-to recipes. If you want to turn it into milk, just mix water and evaporated milk in equal amounts. Even though it's not exactly the same as fresh milk, it will do you in a pinch. Have coconut milk, especially if you're lactose intolerant. We have been stocking up a lot more on coconut milk.
Next is powdered milk. Powdered milk is great for baking. You can make your own Bisquick recipes with it. Use it as a creamer for your coffee. You can use it for a lot of things. I get big cans of dry milk and I get the small pantry cans through Thrive Life. We also like Morning Moos. There's all different kinds that we like. We have buckets of dry milk in our long-term food storage.
If it's stored in an airtight container, there's no reason why this can't last indefinitely, or at least until opened. The higher the fat content, the lower the shelf life. So skip ghee. It's clarified butter. When it's stored properly, it needs no refrigeration and can last forever. It's a great substitute for cooking oil and definitely will give that buttery flavor to any food when you have to use your food storage. Buttered powder. This is from Agassiz Farms, and this is butter, you guys. Not a butter substitute, full on butter. Easy to use, delicious. Here's what it looks like. It's a fine powder.
So I have a 4th cup of the butter powder. This is gonna make a 4th cup of butter, 4 tablespoons of butter. So you're gonna need 2 1/4 teaspoons of water, and you're gonna mix that in here. Mix it really good, incorporate it really well. We have just made butter. We're gonna put some of this butter right onto our corn. Look at that, it melts right in.
Now you have butter when times are crazy. You have butter ready to go. If eggs are hard to find or the price just keeps going up, get dried whole egg powder. This is egg, real egg. You can make yourself some fresh scrambled egg with this. Use it in your recipes. On the back of the bag, it tells you how to yield 2 eggs, 6 eggs, 12 eggs, 26 eggs by just adding water. Don't be fooled by egg replacer. This is supposed to help in the forms of baking, like your brownies, your cakes, your muffins. This helps stabilize like an egg does. It is not egg. You want real egg powder. And this is great to have in your pantry when times are bananas.
I like to get my powdered eggs from Agassiz Farms. Again, I like to get a lot of my stuff through Thrive. I'll jump on Amazon and give a look as well. There's lots of great companies out there where you can get dehydrated and freeze-dried vegetables and protein. People have told me that they're starting to see a little bit more food storage in their local supermarkets and Walmarts. It can last 25 to 30 years. You guys, this tastes fresh.
You can use things like freeze-dried cheese and sour cream powder, heavy cream powder, and cream cheese powder. Now, if you're looking to take your pantry to the next level, maybe consider investing in tools like a dehydrator or a freeze dryer. These can be game changers. A few years back, we invested in a freeze dryer, and I can't tell you how much it has changed how we store food. It has been so much fun. We have freeze dried steak and chicken, corn, broccoli, peaches, strawberries, bananas, raspberries, and even mango. Oh, this is better than candy. It's been so much fun freeze drying things like candy. Skittles are so good. We even freeze-dried ice cream sandwiches, and you can even freeze-dry meals. This is something we're starting to do. We do have packages of convenient, ready-to-go freeze-dried meals, but it'll be a whole lot cheaper to freeze-dry our leftovers. We have done scrambled eggs, and they turned out really good. The dehydrator or the freeze dryer are big investments up front, but let me tell you, our freeze dryer has more than paid itself back. It's all about being self-reliant and making most of what you can store. This helps us ensure our pantry is always ready for anything. This video can go on forever, but I have so many videos for you on what to stock up on month to month. I'll leave those down below. Especially if you want to stock up long-term, month to month, and you want to go deeper, I have those for you as well. I could talk about this like seriously all day long. I do have a few videos on pantry kits. They're easy, put together meals with some of your shelf staple recipes. Trust me, these are great when your grocery budget is tight one month, but the main thing is it puts food in the bellies of you and your family. I'll meet you over there. Thanks for joining me today. Bye.